Hey, Bob, I appreciate the chance we have to get together today. I don't know if there's anything we have that'll help you, but I'll go through the areas in which we work. Areas such as increasing cash flow, decreasing debt, and reducing taxes. We also specialize in life insurance and annuities, and how they could possibly shave years off your potential retirement date. After that, if there's an interest on your part, I'll gather some information and we'll get back together in 2 or 3 days to go through some specifics. But there's nothing to buy here, so just sit back and relax. I work with Ancora Financial. We're a national company with more than 70 offices nationwide. We have contracts with insurance companies and financial institutions worth billions of dollars, many of which have been in business for over 100 years. What we do is we teach people about money, how it works, and how to make it work better for you. Specifically, our goal is one thing: to help people become financially independent. Now, what that means is the interest you're earning on the money you've got put away now replaces what you would normally earn from your business or salary. At that point, you don't have to work anymore. You may choose to, but you don't have to. So that is financial independence. Now, wouldn't you like to know how to get there the soonest? Okay, great. Now, first I want to touch on some of the issues and challenges that face us today and then talk about the solutions. First off, look at the last 10 years. Incomes have risen, yes, but there's no way that incomes have kept up with living expenses or lots of things. So for many Americans, there's no real way that incomes have kept up with housing, gas, electric, stuff like that, and that creates some real problems. Their lack of security steps in, poor saving habits ensue, and they get into debt, which creates some real problems. Now, here's an example. Uh, Here's my point. Let's say there were 100 people in the room here today who are 65, ready to retire. How many of them do you think would be financially secure? That's a good guess. Actually, the number is seven. 7 out of 100. So what happens to the other 93? Well, we find they fall into three different categories. Many rely on charity, or not family. Many rely on charity, and many of them, which is probably the majority of them, they're still working. Look at all the seniors working at Walmart, Wendy's, those type of places. In fact, I was at Wendy's last week, and in between appointments, and I saw this older woman, she's probably in her mid 70s, and she was wiping down the tables, sweeping, mopping the floors, taking out the trash, stuff like that. And suddenly, a couple minutes later, I looked over and she was on the floor. I thought she fell down, but as I looked closer, I saw that she was scraping gum off the floor. And I immediately thought of my mother and grandmother and thought, God, I would hate that if they would have had to do that. So let's talk about the solutions. What we do is we work in key areas involving 7 steps to help build your financial future. We weave these steps together to help you increase your cash flow, get out of debt, reduce taxes, and retire as soon as possible, if desired. The goal here is to obtain financial independence much quicker. So, so I'm going to run through these real quick. Stop me if you have any questions, and keep in mind that the areas where you have the biggest need or the biggest priority, and then we can develop a strategy later on. Okay, and so step one is inspect what you expect. Part of understanding money and how it work, how understand how money works and how to make it work better for you is to know where your money goes. There are tools out there such as QuickBooks where you can track your earnings and expenditures so you can inspect what to expect. The goal here is to free up extra money you didn't know you had. That extra money could be put towards paying off your debt or towards your future goals and dreams, and possibly shave years off of that retirement date. Step two is about increasing cash flow. Now, Bob, how would you define cash flow? Okay, that's a good answer. Monthly cash flow is what's left over at the end of the month after all money comes in and expenses and bills go out. We work with firms that specialize in improving your cash flow by reducing the cost of servicing your debts. And uh, oh yeah, for example, let me ask you a question. Uh, at the end of the year, are you getting a tax refund or do you owe taxes? That's interesting you say that. I was with a client last week, and he told me that he was getting $3,000 back a year. So I said to him, "So you're telling me you're getting that you give the government $3,000 of your money to hold for over a year, and, and then to let them give it back to you with 0% interest?" And the guy looked at me and said, "You know what? That doesn't make any sense." And Bob, it doesn't. There are ways to take that money as it's being earned to earn more money for you instead of the government. So you now step three is eliminating debt. And if you look at this page here, this is a current client. They have accumulation of $190,000 in debt between mortgage, car loans, credit card, store credit card. And under their current plan, if they continue to make the same monthly payments, they'll be out of debt in 26.8 years. Now, if you look at this here, by using the debt eliminator plan, we're able to help them to get out of debt in 13.1 years. Same amount of debt, same total monthly payments, and there's no refinancing involved. And yet they're out of debt 13.1 years and possibly have $500,000 in retirement savings. So the key is if you pay the money, if you will pay you could be out of debt and have $500,000 in savings. Okay, step four is a biggie as well. Step four is about creating an emergency fund. And what I find is that most people don't have one. So when an emergency comes up, out comes the plastic. Like for example, $1,800 transmission for the car. 3 or 4 years down the road, that becomes a $3,000, $4,000 transmission. So you see, that's what's hurting people. Uh, part, part, part of now here's my point. Have you ever tried to set up an emergency fund in a checking account? It doesn't happen. The money's fair game. It'll get spent. It's out of sight, out of mind. What we encourage people to get a separate account, such as a money market, where you can have the money drafted on the same day every month into the money market and get a decent rate of return. So when something comes up, you have the money. It not only helps keep your credit card balances at zero, it also helps prevent you from dipping into your retirement savings as well and avoiding that 10% tax penalty. It's simple, it's powerful, and it works. All right, now step 5 is about protecting what you have. And by utilizing life insurance to protect against loss of income. Now, you've seen it before. Mom and dad, they have 3 kids, and suddenly something happens. Dad is gone. It's devastating. And dad's gone. So is his income. So then who's going to pay the mortgage, the electric, the phone, stuff like that? That's what's devastating. Part of part of a good financial plan is a proper amount of life insurance to replace income. Okay, and it also sets up an immediate estate. Now here we do things a little bit different. We work with people to determine their financial needs and bring them back options. It helps people save money, increase cash flow, and get set up with the proper amount of life insurance. All right, now, step 6 is the biggest one, Bob. And if you'll listen to me, this could change the quality of your life. Step 6 is about building long-term income or long-term savings. Now, there's 2 elements at play here, 2 financial battles you have to win in order to win the money game. Because if you don't incorporate these, now can I be strong with you? The chances of you being financially independent probably won't happen. And if it does, it's way out there. So the 2 battles you have to win are the inflation battle, we'll see why in a minute, and the tax battle. Because taxes will hurt you if you're not careful. First, let's talk about inflation. Have you heard the Rule 72? Okay, I'll explain it to you. It's really interesting. It's also known as the rule of compounding interest. And what you do is you take the number that you're saving at now, say 4%, and you divide that number into 72. Right, 4 into 72 is 18. So it takes 18 years for your money to double. Okay, let's use an example. Say you had $100 in an account, okay, and get 4% interest. And 18 years later, the 100 doubles to 200. Okay, and another 18 years, it doubles to 400. Now, here's the problem. 36 years from now, will 400 hours buy what 100 hours buys today? Probably not. So, all right, now look at this. Let's say you had $10,000, and you no. So if people are saving money, what are they saving? Well, typically banks, credit unions, fixed accounts, where they're probably not even getting 1%. So you see what's happening here. Money is growing, but inflation is growing much quicker. People are losing purchasing power. They may never retire. That's a big, big problem. That solution is to obtain a potentially better interest rate. Okay, and the solution is to obtain a potentially better interest rate. Let's say you could have gotten. Uh, Look at this. If you could have gotten 6%, your money doubles every 12 years. 8%, your money doubles every 9 years. And at 12%, Your money doubles every 6 years. So let's say you put it in $10,000 into a fixed account. All right, you get 4%. So at 29 years old, you started this account, and at 47, your money doubles to 20,000, as you can see here. All right, now, and 18 years later, at age 65, it was 40,000. Now you're 65, the house is paid for, the kids are grown, and you want to retire, and you got $40,000 to your name. How long is that going to last you? Well, the rate you spent probably half that time. I'm just kidding. Maybe a year, maybe a little longer if you're really frugal. But then you're out of money, and you're a greeter at Walmart. You've seen him, right? Now, then here's the problem: we run out of time. Who wants to work past 65? Now, what if we could have gotten a better interest rate? Now, look at this. And like I said before, at 6%, your money doubles every 12 years. 8%, your money doubles every 9 years. 12%, your money doubles every 6 years. So 12% at age 65, you have $640,000. Isn't that amazing? Now, the only difference between this guy and this guy is the interest rate. Not more money, not more time. Same age, same amount of money. The only thing that we changed was the interest rate. See, it's not about having $10,000. It's about putting away what you can on a monthly basis at a decent rate of return. See, so because if you save for you, there may be a time when you will not be out earning your money, but your money will be out earning you. Okay? Now, you can't win the rate of return and inflation battle. Forget about taxes. In fact, I'm going to show you an example that'll shock you. Let's say you're 65 years old and you're ready to, say you're 30 years ago, there's a guy that's 30 years old. He goes to the bank and he says to the banker, I want to have $1 million by the time I'm 60. So the banker did his calculations and he came back and he said to the guy, we have a CD getting 4%. And if you contribute $1,639.29 a month for 30 years, you'll have your $1 million. Well, the guy was thoroughly disgusted. He walked out of the bank and never saved a dime. Yep, now he's a greeter at Walmart. Now, what if we could have taught him how to win these two battles, the rate of return battle and the tax battle? Look at how that number drops. Let's win one at a time. The rate of return battle. Let's say we could have gotten them 10% instead of 5. Look at how it drops that number. It's down. Now, granted, not a lot of people can afford $900 a month, but just by changing the interest rate, we were able to reduce that number by $700 a month. That's significant. Now, what if we could show him how to save his money where it can't be taxed while it grows? Look at how it drops it again. Now it's down to $439 a month. Now, Bob, don't you know people that can put away $439 a month? Yeah, most people can. Hey, they're probably blowing that, right? So the key is not about having $10,000. It's about having putting away what you can on a monthly basis, getting a decent rate of return, avoiding loss of principal, and reducing taxes. Okay, and now people are saving money. Where are they saving? Typically, banks, credit unions, fixed accounts, where they're probably not even getting 4%. So now the key. Uh, so now, if you now let's use this. Let's use an example here. You say you it's not about putting away a ton. It's about putting away what you can and getting a decent rate of return and avoiding loss of principal and deferred taxes. And now, where the question is, where can I get a decent rate of return, and be protected against loss of principal and reduce taxes? Well, actually, there are three different strategies. I'm going to give you a brief synopsis of each one, and you tell me which one makes the most sense for you, so I know what's suitable for you when we get back together. Okay? Now, first one is the first one is the fixed rate approach. Okay, where you get a guaranteed fixed rate, maybe 1%, probably less, which can be risky because of inflation. Now, the other end of the spectrum is the stock market, mutual funds, where you have the potential for high gains, and you also have greater risk of losing your money, which a lot of people have because it's been pretty dicey lately. Now, the third approach is the index strategy, okay, where I look at it as a combination of the other two, the fixed rate approach and stock market, because you you're guaranteed not to lose money, and you participate in the gains of the S&P 500 stock index, which for the past 25 years has averaged almost 10% a year. So the Bob, you know about the let's talk about that a minute. You know what the index strategy for the S&P 500 stock index is, right? Yeah, it's 500 most widely held companies in the country, and they represent 100 industry groups such as technology, healthcare, and utilities. And that basically represents about 70% of the domestic economy. So that's a big indicator. Now, uh, so let me ask, and keep in mind that it's averaged almost 10% a year for the last 25 years. So let me ask you this, Bob: if you had invested $10,000 in the stock market 25 years ago, you'd be pretty happy, wouldn't you? Yeah, really. So now let me explain to you. Let me explain to you what the index strategy is and how the index crediting works. Now, the interest earned is linked to what the S&P 500 does, up to a cap, 12%, without any of the downside market risk associated, that downside market loss associated with putting your money directly into the stock market. So your money's protected from any loss. Your money's protected from any loss, and yet you participate in the gains of the S&P 500 up to the 12% cap. So here's an example. Let's say you contributed 10,000 into the index strategy and a few years ago, and the first year it went up 10%. So now you have 11,000. Okay. Now let's say the second year went up another 10%. Okay. So now you have 12,100. Now what if the third year it went down 20%. Is that possible? Yeah, in fact, it happened. My uncle lost $60,000 in 2008. But instead of your account value dropping to $9,600 in year three, it stays at 12,100. So you can see why the index strategy is becoming one of the most popular strategies. So one of the best ways to win the uh, one of the best ways to win the rate of return in inflation battle is to have potential for high growth and protect your principal and interest from any downside market risk and avoiding taxes. In fact, in step 6, when we are done, we'll be able to tell you how and when you will be totally financially independent. Okay, so this is powerful stuff, and that's step 6. Now, step 7 is estate planning. Okay, now estate planning is an integral part of any financial plan. Uh, like having living will, trust, power of attorney, that type of thing. It could really avoid a lot of headaches. You remember that story about the lady Terry Schiavo several years back? She was incapacitated, and the whole world argued over what should happen to her. And just imagine the heartache it would have saved that family if she'd only had a living will. So it's very important that you engage an attorney that specializes in estates, or there are companies out there that will. Uh, they're not law firms, but they'll help you fill out documentation for simple estates. Okay, so Bob, those are the 7 steps. That's pretty cool, isn't it? Now let me ask you this, Bob. If you had to narrow it down to two steps, the two of the steps that are most important to you between increasing cash flow, reducing debt, uh, creating an emergency fund, establish life insurance for income protection, uh, and 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 tax planning, which is critical. Well, now, income protection and long-term income or long-term savings and tax planning, which is critical, and estate planning. If you had to narrow it down to two, which two would you pick? Okay, they're good choices. Now, let me tell you what we do. We do is what's called a financial needs analysis. Where in a second I'll gather some information, and so we could determine what your needs are, and where no, we'll put it when we have where when I'll take it back to the office where we have this very sophisticated software program where we'll input your information, and it helps us develop a strategy, a plan of attack for specifically designed for you. So now keep in mind that the information I put, put in will only be as accurate as the information the information I give you will only be as accurate as the information we put in. So work with me here because we are talking about your financial future. Okay, so now, do you have plans of making any major purchase in the next 3 years, 2 or 3 years? No, okay. And you want to plan for your child's uh, college? Okay. And what about long-term savings? Are you concerned about your retirement? Okay. And wow, Bob, Bob, this is going to be great when we get back together in 2 or 3 days. When we get when we get back together, you'll have a crystal clear picture of how and when you will be totally financially independent. Realize achieving all your goals and your dreams, and you're going to love it. But you're going to need to listen to me, and I'm going to spend some time on this because I know you're serious. That we need to get back together in the next 2 or 3 days, and because if we have to go clear in the next week, I'll have to recapitulate everything we just covered. So it's very important that we get together as soon as possible. Okay. So with that in mind, I have 10 a.m. and 3 p.m. Which one works better for you? Okay, 3 p.m. Great. Okay, Bob. Tomorrow at 3 p.m. Now, will your wife be here too? Okay, cool. Now, Bob, I just have two more questions before I go. If when I come back, I can show you a plan that meets your needs in every way that you're totally comfortable with, is there any reason why we can't do business? Okay, great. And after we do business, is there any reason why you wouldn't feel totally comfortable with uh, giving me the names of 3 or 4 people that you think that would would benefit from my services as much as I'm going to help you? Okay, that's great. Well, if you could jot those down on this paper here, then between now and tomorrow, I'd really appreciate it. Well, thank you, Bob. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you tomorrow at 3. Have a great day.